The thing with history is that pretty much everything that happened before the 20th century had to be written down, and people are terrible eyewitnesses. We may never really know what happened even during very well documented historical events, because historians often embellish details, record fiction as fact, or wrote down only what the ruling class wanted people to know. And before humans developed a written language, all those moments are lost in time. But every now and then some new tantalizing details emerge from the archaeological record, or from a previously neglected document, or even someone's DNA, and sometimes those details are so surprising they completely change our understanding of history. The word dinosaur means terrible lizard, and it's because people thought they were big lizards. When the first dinosaur fossils were discovered in the 1600s, no one really knew what to think. According to the BBC, 17th century museum keeper Robert Plot identified one fossil as the thigh bone of a huge human, proof that giants once walked the earth. By the 1850s, scientists knew that dinosaurs weren't gigantic humans, but they couldn't imagine them any other way than stocky and low to the ground like iguanas, and with that assumption came another one. Dinosaurs were lizards, so they were cold-blooded. In 2014, someone finally decided to research the question. A team of biologists used a formula of growth rate, body temperature and size to conclude that dinosaurs must have been somewhere in between. They couldn't exactly regulate their body temperature, but they weren't lumbering and sluggish either. People used to think that strong winds caused the rocks to move across Death Valley's racetrack playa. Turns out it's not. In August 2014, a group of very patient researchers aided by the Scripps Institution of Oceanography, NASA and others announced they'd solved the mystery. Richard D. Norris and his cousin James N. Norris said the motion comes from very thin windowpane ice that sometimes covers the dry lake bed. When the ice begins to melt in the late morning sun, it may break up under the light winds. Floating ice panels may then push the rocks, causing them to move and leave tracks in the desert floor. The two cousins launched their investigation of sailing stones in 2011. That's when they founded what they called the Slithering Stones Research Initiative. They established a weathering station near Racetrack Playa, and added 15 of their own stones to the desert. The added stones had GPS tracking units attached. Then they watched. On December the 4th and December the 20th, 2013, their setup, which used time-lapse photography, caught on camera rocks that were sliding across the playa up to 15 feet per minute. They saw many other instances of sailing stones as well, becoming the first people in the world to see the stones in motion. Recently, it was announced that the long-lost ship of Arctic explorer Sir John Franklin, HMS Terror, had been discovered in northern Canada. Abandoned in April 1848, after the expedition party encountered heavy ice in the Arctic's Northwest Passage, the exact fate of those on board has long been a mystery. On the 12th of September 2016, a team from the Arctic Research Foundation announced that a wreck identified as HMS Terror had been located on the southern coast of King William Island, in the middle of Terror Bay at a depth of 69 to 79 feet. The ship was designated in 1992 as a National Historic Site of Canada, even though its whereabouts were then unknown. Since its discovery, the exact location has been withheld in order to preserve the wreck and prevent looting. A member of the Canadian Rangers who joined the crew of the Arctic research ship recalled finding what he appeared to be a mast sticking out of the ice 7 years earlier. His information led the searchers to the wreck. Fish and wildlife officials have pinpointed the likely source of a giant blue eyeball that was washed ashore on a Florida beach. After examinations, researchers said they believe the mysterious orb was cut from a swordfish and tossed overboard by a fisherman. Experts on site and remotely have viewed and analysed the eye, and based on its colour, size and structure along with the presence of bone around it, believe it to be a swordfish. Joan Herrera of the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission Research Institute said the following: "Based on straight line cuts visible around the eye, we believed it was removed by a fisherman and discarded. In the Atlantic Ocean, swordfish can reach up to 1,100 pounds, and at this time of year it's common for fishermen to catch them off the coast of South Florida." For a long time, people have puzzled about one of the biggest collapses in human history. Why did the Maya people abandon dozens of cities they've built in the Yucatan Peninsula, and allow what had been a highly developed civilization turn into ruins, Some have theorised that the mayor were probably defeated in battle by rival peoples, or that the ruling class was overthrown in a peasant revolt. Others have more out there theories, such as an invasion of UFOs. But in a study published in 2012, Arizona State University researchers, who analysed archaeological data with an eye to figuring out environmental changes in the Mayan heyday, found evidence to prove a theory put forward by historian Jared Diamond in his 2005 book Collapse. The Mayan the researchers discovered had burned and chopped down so much of the forest they had to alter the land's ability to absorb solar radiation, which in turn made clouds and rainfall scarce. That made a naturally occurring drought, and caused erosion and soil depletion, which caused agriculture to fail. With less food available, workers were forced to leave the lowland cities to avoid starvation, and everything collapsed as a result. The state of Kerala in India was overwhelmed by mysterious red-coloured rain. Over 100,000 pounds of red particles fell, coating everything in the area. While the red rain phenomena had happened before, documented cases go back to 1818, and would happen again. The blood rain over India grabbed the imagination of scientists, and pseudoscientists alike, when two researchers published a paper claiming the red particles were alien spores from an exploding life-seeding comet. While the paper quickly became an accepted explanation for the rain, the actual cause was identified almost immediately: airborne spores from local green algae. While such spores are commonly found in the atmosphere, and have been found in the other red rains around the world, there's still no explanation for why so many rain down for so long. As Norwegian biology teacher Karsan Iresad skied through the mountains of southern Norway, he came across an extraordinary sight: thousands of earthworms littering the snow before him. So what causes this wide variety of animals to just pop out of the sky? Why were earthworms covering the snow in Norway? How were they alive resting on top of the snow that was reportedly almost a metre deep? In this case, scientists remain puzzled. The most popular and likely hypothesis involved weather. According to The Independent, a violent air pocket may be responsible for the out-of-place earthworms, exploding them upward into the air and displacing them miles away to the area where the teacher had been skiing. Or perhaps it was something like a tornado, and you can imagine how this might move things around. As far back as the early 1800s, French physicist and mathematician André-Marie Ampère tried to solve this bizarre mystery, and his conclusions were similar to those we've drawn today. He suggested that sometimes large number of smaller animals congregate together in the countryside, and get swept up in winds that hurl them over great distances to unexpected places. If they survive the fall, maybe their trip wasn't that far. On the other hand, sometimes things play out a bit differently. Several witnesses of raining frogs describe the animals as startled, though healthy and exhibiting relatively normal behaviour. As for the aquatic animals like fish, there's a similar idea, something called a tornadic waterspout, which are basically just tornadoes that begin on land and cross over to water, or just form over water. A mysterious faint creature that washed up on a beach in Texas following Hurricane Harvey has been identified. A woman named Preeti found the decaying fish on a beach in Texas City, and asked Twitter for help. She posted several photos with the caption, "OK Biology Twitter, what is this?" Her request was passed to the biologist and eel specialist Dr. Kenneth Tiggy, who believed it's a fang-toothed snake eel. He said it may also be a garden or conger eel, because all of these species occur off Texas and have large fang-like teeth. It's thought that Hurricane Harvey, which brought strong winds and flooding to Texas, could explain why the creature was washed up. The fang-toothed eel, also known as a tusky eel, is usually found in waters between 30 and 90 meters deep, typically in the western Atlantic Ocean. Preeti, who was at the beach assessing the damage from the hurricane, told the BBC, "It was completely unexpected. It's not something that you typically see on a beach. I thought it could have been something from the deep sea which might have washed ashore." She said she left the eel on the beach, to let nature take its course. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more videos.